Hello, it's day 37 on our 40-day challenge, what progress we have made. One thing I'm beginning to realize is that when you start a new garden, you cannot learn everything at once. You have to learn the next step in front of you. Let me show you what I mean. The first thing we had to plan about our garden was appropriate space on our land, on our homestead. We had to decide how much space we needed, how we could fence it off, how we could get water, and how we could get sun. I feel like we've done that pretty well so far in the 40-day challenge. That step, check. At the same time, you're looking at space and water and sun and just laying it out. You also have to be looking at, what am I going to grow? Well, I don't feel like we've gotten an A+ on that this year, but we've at least better understand how much to grow for next time, where it needs to be, what needs to be where. I have a much better understanding, so we're well on our way to having that basic knowledge. Lydia agrees. Once you've figured out where to grow on your land and what to grow on your land, the next big learning curve is how to battle the other things that want to eat what you're growing. I'm talking about pests. So that's our learning curve that we're dealing with right now. I have grown things before on a very, very small scale, so it's not brand new to us, but there's still a lot to learn. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Katie was just showing us some squash bugs that are on some little detrimental bugs that are on our squash plants. So that's what we have to deal with squash. The tricky learning curve in a garden is that there are often different bugs and pests that you have to deal with depending on what it is you're growing. For corn, you have to look for some things. For tomatoes, you have to look for another. For squash, you have to look for something different. Peppers, different. Blackberries, fruit trees, strawberries, they're all different. So the more things you grow, the bigger your learning curve is. That can be pretty intense, especially when you're just trying to get started anyway. You know, the best you can do is just jump in and see what works, see what doesn't. Some things I've done in the past is to simply, in a garden this size, it's not too intense, to come out once a day and pick off the eggs and pick off the things on the squash. Usually you'll still get plenty of squash to harvest if you do that. We put up Japanese beetle traps around our apple tree before. I think we've got Japanese beetles invading our blackberries. I need to look at it. So for that, we'll put out some traps and see how it goes. I've got a jar that I can keep out here to catch the big bugs. I've got scissors to snip the worms. So there are a number of simple, quick things you can do that don't involve spraying, but it is a lot to take in. It is really overwhelming and truly unnecessary to go ahead before you get your garden going and try and understand the pests and go ahead and plan for it. You can do some general pest control, but as far as individual things on your plants, it may have to be more of a learn as you go kind of situation. No, he's doing good. I'm thrilled to see one of our hens over here around our berry bushes because hens love Japanese beetles, and I'm pretty sure, yep, that's what we've got on these blackberries. That is bad news for our fruit. Let me check over here. Oh, doesn't take long.
There's a berry, Mama.
There is a berry.
Oh, for blueberries.
All right, I'm gonna have to get on it and get some traps out here. Probably I'll have to get them. Can't get them tonight, I'll have to get them tomorrow. We do not want these beetles eating up all of the blackberries. We aren't gonna get a lot of blackberries this year anyway because we just planted them and the plants themselves are not that old. So I don't expect to get a lot, but I sure don't want what we do have to be eaten by the Japanese beetles.
Spider. There's a spider, Mama.
So there's a whole nother pest entirely on our raspberry. You see what I mean about this learning curve? We're just gonna have to go with it. So I'm gonna have to take a bush, like one of our fruit bushes or our corn or something at a time, see what's getting impacted the most, do my best to research for that, and then move on. We may not make it great this year. We're gonna do the best we can, and I will be ready to fight next year. Okay, so we need to talk vehicles for a minute. We're going to take a break from pests and bugs and talk vehicles. I don't mean Katie's vehicle, her tricycle, but I mean homestead vehicles. John is going to update you on what is going on our homestead with our vehicles.
Hi everyone. Well, you remember we've talked about our van and we've talked about how Melinda got into the wreck last week. Well, it's been totaled. The estimates to repair it came back and it was far greater than the vehicle was worth, and well, the insurance company just said we can't do that, so we're going to write you a check and we're going to send it to you and you get to get a new car. And that's okay for most, but not for us because we haven't had a car payment in more than 10 years at this point. And the thought of buying a new car is just actually not that much fun. We really liked that one, and well, now we don't have it anymore. But we're grateful for insurance, we're grateful for provision, and we'll make the best of this situation. We're just glad that we can do something here about it. So just a little break from some of our work there on the homestead. We had to take care of. I had to go and leave the keys, get the license plate, all that kind of stuff, and now we're on our way back.
So that is the story of our van. Very sad for us, absolutely. Well, now we're on a new adventure to try and figure out what vehicle we should get. We haven't had a car payment in over 10 years. We don't want one now, but it may just be what we have to do for a short season for us. Anyway, we will keep you updated on what we decide, why we decided it, and see if it still ends up being one of the best homestead vehicles we can find. As we are wrapping up our 40 days and we are on day 37, John and I are really beginning to just talk about lessons learned. What's gone well, what hasn't gone well, how much we've actually feel like we've gotten accomplished in 40 days, and how much more work there is to do. We are going to be sharing some of those lessons for the next 3 videos, and we're still going to be updating on garden. We might hop into the kitchen after this 40-day challenge and do a few other things, but I want to share a couple of lessons learned really quickly, or at least tease 1 or 2. One lesson learned is you cannot wait till you have all of your ducks in a row to start a garden, because you will never have all of your ducks in a row. You simply won't. If you wait until you've understood every pest and everything and every spacing and everything else, you will never start a garden. By the time you learn all that, it will be far too late, you'll be far too old, and gardening will be over for you. So I encourage you, wherever you are, to go on and start. Start with a little bit of knowledge you have, seek out other information, and just get it going. The worst that can happen is you have no food at the end of it, which you wouldn't have had if you hadn't started a garden anyway, so you're certainly no worse for the wear. There are a few other lessons we're going to be sharing with you, and we've learned a lot in 40 days, and I hope if you are just starting out with your garden, or if you're considering a garden, maybe even thinking about it and planning for next year, we've been helpful. And if you have a garden going right now, maybe some of our problems and our solutions can help you before they become problems in your garden. We'll see you tomorrow for day 38.